Welcome to the Vox Pathfinder 15R channel, and this video is about how I feel the United States Postal Service is damaging your vintage speakers in transit. Actually opening up the boxes, inspecting the contents, and then putting it back in, not knowing what the hell they're doing. So, back in January, I had posted a video about unpacking these two gorgeous 1961 vintage Jensen speakers with original paper cones. Now, in the ad in eBay, they were described to having a patina, sort of aging, and I was okay with that. And I expected over time you get those little hairline cracks around the rim, and probably at one point I'd have to put like that resin to reinforce the rim, and all would be good. You know, not a speaker that could take 50 watts or nothing. And maybe, who knows, over 10-15 years, maybe replace a cone, or in 20 years with, you know, gentle use. And I get them out. I'll put a link in the video description so you can go watch that video. So I take them out and I'm disgusted. I mean, these speakers are trash. And my initial thought was the seller was screwed me. They're nice enough, I guess. They put in a claim. I go to the post office. And those people barely knew what they're doing, one. And finally, he got this form for me to fill out. But the thing is, I have to hand him over the speakers. I said, no, listen, I want to rebuild these things. I mean, they're treasures, right? 1961 Jensen C12Ns or Rs or whatever. And it's not the normal one. I mean, beautiful speakers. So, I mean, at least they deserve to be reconed. Well, we have to take them in and do our inspection, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, you're going to do an inspection. Maybe I'll get my money back, and then you're going to toss these in the trash. And despite the fact I'd researched online saying that you could just ask for the cost to repair them, not even the total cost. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to pay for all the recone and the spider costs, not even my labor to do it, just the parts. So I'm ordering a few speakers, and I picked up a few Jensen CAR vintage speakers, and I know I got one really cheap, and it had a little damage around the rim. I was okay with that. And then I found another one which was beautiful. And the other day I go, just looking at my stock, you know, look at a few boxes that came in, and I open it up and I see the damage. I say, yeah, that's fine. But then I'm trying to cross-reference, the shippers with the product, and I said, wait, hold a second. I'm looking at the eBay auction, look at the original listing, and this speaker is perfect. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So let me try and recreate events. This is removed, and I'll explain why later. So I open the box. Now, mind you, this is the seller packing slip, and I'm the only one that cut this open. So this has never been opened before. This is part of the insanity. I didn't understand what was happening. Like, what, you know, nothing was making sense in my mind. I'm like, I thought I was going crazy. So I'm unpacking this stuff. This is how it was. And then I'm recreating this, obviously, right? And I find the speaker, this Jensen C8R. And it's just dangling like this. I didn't clip that, okay? Now, I removed this side. This side wasn't like this. It was in the other way. So it was like, if I had to show you, it was in like so. And if you can see, it was pointed in. Hold a second. It was just like this, and the speaker was resting like that on top of it, okay? Now, I had just noticed this guy was clipped. I don't even remember this being clipped. I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember that being clipped. That's just something I just realized. I thought it was just this one side that was clipped. So, if what happened, I take a look, Look at those two puncture marks. Look at the fraying. And that was caused by this end stabbing this cone. Look at that. This was a perfect shape speaker cone. Okay, there's the light. It was in perfect shape, and it got stabbed. And I just communicated with the seller, and I didn't even realize that this one had been cut as well, because it's still kind of holding in. So I'm like going out of my brain because I have a bunch of speakers I've bought lately, and I'm trying to juggle everything. So last night, I'm communicating, and I'm like, well, to the seller, I'm like, I'm angry. I don't know what the hell is going on, blah, blah, blah. And later on, I'm looking at the box, and I'm discussing with him. This whole bottom was retaped. And look at this gap. And he said, he goes, look at my ratings. I mean, everyone talks about how great he does his shipping. And he said, I didn't leave this gap. It's like it was cut, literally cut. Here you can see some fraying. And here's another thing. Look at all this paper that was torn. And then I discovered another thing. Look at this edge. This was ripped clear off. And then when it was ripped, some of the paper came off this side with it, and then they just taped it down flush. And look at that gap. This side looks, second, kind of looks cut here, but no, I think that's okay, just like bent. But here, it's all trashed. It's a whole cut side. This whole chunk in the middle missing, just retaped. So these motherfuckers took out this beautiful vintage Jensen C8R. Look at the numbers here. 220326. So 26th week of 1963. Cut these things. Didn't even have the decency to install them back in correctly. They don't have tie wraps at the post office. And then in shipment, just let that thing, puncture a couple holes into this beautiful, it was a beautiful pristine speaker cone from 1963. Right? Look at that. Look at that. 2 big holes and lots of fraying. Now, I'm gonna repair that, but that's it, man. It's done. It's never. I couldn't sell that as a new cone. I mean, as an intact cone anymore. I'd have to recone it, and I definitely now have to build a speaker enclosure and perhaps even an amp to go with it, just to cover the costs of reconing that, because I'm gonna if I recone it, I got to get a new gasket if I can't save that gasket, because they don't make those pincushion gaskets anymore, so I have to refabricate something. So after all said and done, I'm gonna be like at least solid $50 in parts, with the spiders and everything, and the paper former, now including my labor. So I'm gonna have to repackage this into a a custom built little cabinet, maybe even like a hand wired little amplifier, just to absorb the cost that's gonna have to go into repairing all this. So when I put 2 and 2 together, I figured out, okay, that's what the post office is doing. They're opening up your shit, incompetent, putting the stuff back and damaging it, and then they're going to act all innocent when you bring the stuff back, and then oh, we'll do our little our little inspection to see what actually happened. No, they're fucking up your shipments. You go in the link in the description below, and you can see how they devastated those 2 Jensen speakers. It's not the seller who did that. The seller had photos of that speaker before they shipped. I mean, these things looked like they were tossed around a hockey rink. And looked like, those little 3-prong or 2-prong little hand hoeing devices for, digging up dirt in flower pots. It looked like someone stabbed one speaker with one of those devices. I mean, it was just awful. So be wary. I haven't seen this issue with UPS. Someone told me, this seller said his buddy said that their UPS is looking for drugs in the shipments. Well, the United States Postal Service is. I don't think the UPS is doing so much of that because they're not government, right? So, yeah. I mean, what? I mean, they got smelling dogs. A dog knows if there's drugs in a box or not. They don't need to open shit up needlessly. And if anything, if you're going to ship vintage speakers, bolt it down to a custom-made baffle board, or in an amplifier. I mean, you can't ship these things alone anymore. They're incompetent. They're going to ruin vintage stuff. This is ruined forever. I mean, it's not a big deal. I'll plug up those little holes. I mean, it'll be okay. It'll probably have 99.9% of its tone. It's not going to affect the mass of the moving part of the cone at all. Hardly ever anything. So I'm looking on the bright side, but it's not a perfect cone. It was perfect before it was shipped. The seller didn't screw this up. The seller didn't rip this whole piece off, rip it off, have some of the paper come on the side, and then tape it back down, and then leave this monstrous gap along the bottom. That's not the seller. And now, having seen this, putting 2 to 2 together, those 2 Jensens were not fucked up by the seller back in January. This is the United States Postal Service, and you should be extremely aware. So, thanks for tuning in, and take heed and take precautions. I'm sure if you sell a little combo amp and this thing's bolted in the little combo amp, they're not going to unbolt the speaker out of the baffle board. So those speakers are safe, hopefully. It's just, I mean, I just saw that cut one. That second tie wrap was cut. I didn't cut that. I just noticed that. It just sort of held. Well, I'm totally bullshit. So, I don't know what more to say. Yeah, you tell me what your thoughts are. Okay, signing out.